Congratulations, Colorado, for joining Oregon. Hello, welcome to Garden Talks. I'm your host, Garden Talks. I am a mycologist, an herbalist, a gardener. I love studying medicinal plants, mainly herbs and medicinal mushrooms, and I love sharing this type of information with you all. So if you enjoy these types of topics, please make sure to subscribe and stay connected. In this video, I'll be sharing with you guys the new law that just passed as of November 8th, 2022. Psilocybin magic mushrooms have now been past decriminalization in Colorado. So I'm going to be sharing some information on that, the law itself, what it all means, and my thoughts on it, and my thoughts about psychedelics moving forward. If you're new to my channel and you're interested in more videos about psilocybin, make sure to check out some of my videos. I have some really old ones where I share experiences of my ego death and various other topics around magic mushrooms. So lately I've been reading this one. I finally got into it after being gifted it like a year ago. Food of the Gods. So I'm going to be sharing some pages of this book as well and how it connects with like everything that's going on. It's so interesting. But before I do, like I said, let's get into this new law. All right, so I'm going to be reading off of some articles that were just released regarding this law. So Oregon voters passed the 2020 ballot measure 109, making it the first state to both decriminalize psilocybin and also legalize it for therapeutic use. Colorado followed with the 2022 Colorado ballot measure 122 to decriminalize hallucinogenic substances found in mushrooms that were Schedule I drugs under the Controlled Substances Act. The use, sale, and possession of psilocybin in the United States is illegal under federal law. So remember that we have federal law and then we have state laws. So remember, federal law is the body of law created by the federal government of a country. In this case, we're talking about the United States of America. Federal laws are bills that have passed both houses of Congress, been signed by the president, passed over the president's veto, or allowed to become law without the president's signature. Psilocybin is illegal at the federal level and in most states, though it is decriminalized in Washington, D.C. and more than a dozen other cities. I don't have this list of the dozen other cities, actually. I just know Washington, D.C., Oregon, and Colorado. So this is where it can get confusing, right? So what does decriminalization mean in regards to drugs, because they are classified as drugs, this natural medicine. So by definition, decriminalization, this is the definition, to remove or reduce the criminal classification or status of, especially to repeal a strict ban on while keeping under some form of regulation. So decriminalization is not the same as legalization. It is still illegal to possess or use drugs other than marijuana, but it is a misdemeanor rather than a criminal violation as long as the quantities are within certain limits. The offender may receive a fine or court-ordered rehabilitation, but not imprisonment. So basically, they want control. They want control over the people eating mushrooms that come from the earth. The state is the second to approve regulated use amid a growing body of research into psilocybin's therapeutic uses. So if you go on the web, if you research yourself, psilocybin, anything about psilocybin, you will see that there is an abundance of information of current and recent studies on this medicine as I speak right now. So studies being done by educated and influential individuals such as Tim Ferriss, Hamilton Morris, Michael Pollan, Dennis McKenna. I mean, there's so much research at this point that the benefits of psilocybin is pretty undeniable, but we'll get into that a little further into the video. Going back to what this law really means, to clarify and help you understand, the law as of November 2022 goes as followed. The initiative allows for the use of psilocybin at state-regulated centers under the supervision of licensed facilitators. It also legalizes personal private use, growing and sharing psilocybin and psilocin, as well as 3 additional psychedelic compounds, DMT, ibogaine, and mescaline, by adults over the age of 21. Retail sales are not permitted, and the law has several limitations, including ones prohibiting use in public, in school, or while operating a vehicle, right? So you can possess and share the psychedelic substances, but not sell them for personal use. It also would allow people who have been convicted of offenses involving the substances to have their criminal records sealed. It's pretty cool, right? So basically, it's pretty much the same case for Mary Jane, right? Except for the fact that instead of having dispensaries available and open to the public, this will not be the case. And even if we were to move forward with the availability of this medicine, there's no way that they're going to allow us as citizens, as humans, okay? There's no way that they're going to allow us to walk into a store and get our hands on some shrooms so easily, right? Because the plan behind all of this and taking their sweet little time, deciding whether they want to let humans evolve with psychedelics and all of this, is because they want to capitalize off of it, and they're going to capitalize off of it. That will be the only way for them to ever make this legal to everybody, right? Because if we look at Mary Jane, the reason that they have legalized it in some states is because they are able to tax it, right? Even in Oregon. So in Oregon, we do not pay taxes on something when we buy it, right? Except for weed. Why is that, right? So they're able to tax it, and they are also able to control how it's grown. They're able to implement restrictions or things that make them grow it. GMO weed, right? See what I'm saying? This is going to be a huge opportunity for investors, for individuals on all different levels. I just feel like moving forward with psychedelics has the potential to really change the world. And I think that that's something that they're afraid of. Something that's interesting is that there's word that somewhere in Seattle, Washington, there's already a little shroom shop open, which I wouldn't doubt, but I'm just confused because of the laws, like what's going on. Also here in Portland, Oregon, I actually walked right past a little shroom store that's about to open. So my guess is that some of these investors are getting ahead of the game, because we are predicting that we're going to move forward with the legalization of psychedelics. It's just a matter of when. This is obviously an idea that is growing worldwide, but it's going to take a lot of time because every state is different. Not that long ago, like a couple months ago actually, I was in Texas and I was visiting that state for the first time, and I was just so surprised at how different it is. Like, people just seem so close-minded and so, different than Oregon, where weed and other things are legal and accessible, easily accessible to the public. What will this lead to is the question. Well, it's really no secret that humans have been consuming psychedelics for a really long time. We know that in the 60s there was a huge movement for them, but look at us now. 60 years or whatever later, and we're still here debating whether we should legalize a mushroom that grows in nature. We must remember that nature gives us all the medicine that we need. Mother Earth, straight out of Mama Earth, you know, it's all available to us. The 60s was not when psychedelics were discovered. The use of this medicine actually goes way back to our ancestors and some of the first humanoids to inhabit Earth in Africa. Like, our history is so messed up that it's connected to everything, and I feel like the legalization of psychedelics is going to expose things more than they are already being exposed and brought to the light right now as we speak. There's a lot of evil things that are being exposed as I speak right now, so I can only imagine what the use of psychedelics would do to people. We'd be questioning shit, you know what I mean? We'd be questioning everything. We'd be seeing right through all this bullshit. Alright, so I'm going to share some interesting pages that I found here in this book, Food of the Gods. Not only do I work closely with mushrooms, cultivating them, but I also love to study this topic a lot. And I have come to the conclusion as to why psychedelics are currently illegal. But if you'd like to see that video, please make sure to comment below, and I will feel motivated to share that with you all. Also, quick shout out to Roots to Realms with this beautiful shirt, stoner, Carebear patchwork. It's so cute. Alright, so we're gonna read this part, some parts that I found interesting. So, bringing humans into greater proximity to cattle also entailed increased contact with magic mushrooms. In the human mushroom interspecies, codependency was enhanced and deepened. It was at this time that religious ritual, calendar making, and natural magic came into their own. So, hallucinogens played a decisive role in the emergence of our essential humanness, of the human characteristic of self-reflection. The first encounters between hominids and psilocybin-containing mushrooms may have predated the domestication of cattle in Africa by 1 million years or more. Basically, our ancestors discovered psilocybin mushrooms when working closely with wild cattle, as magic mushrooms naturally love to grow on cow shit. You know what I mean? So because our ancestors had to learn how to survive and use natural resources such as wild cattle to survive, well, they came across the magic mushrooms because naturally they grow on cow shit, on cow manure. You know, bringing humans into greater proximity to cattle also entailed increased contact with magic mushrooms. The human mushroom interspecies codependency was enhanced and deepened. It was at this time that religious ritual, calendar making, and natural magic came into their own. Do you understand what it's saying? It's basically saying that when we began to live a life with mushrooms, we began to evolve with them, and mushrooms play a huge role in the creation of a lot of things that we use today, such as calendar making. This book is seriously so amazing. Like, I've been taking so many notes, and so if you want to see me do a video on this, on what this book is about, drop a comment below. Okay, so at this point, we know the power of psilocybin. We know the magic that it holds. It's undeniable. Not only do I personally hold like over hundreds of feedback from other psychedelic users and their experience, but I myself have had many, and I have taken note of them, and I have really sat with my experiences, and here I am. It has really inspired me to continue my studies. I have experienced dying and coming back to this realm, coming back into my body in a trip. The research is there. I think it's undeniable. I am grateful that we're moving forward with such laws, but we have to keep in mind that this will come at a cost. It's not going to be cheap. In fact, it's actually predicted to be somewhere in the thousands. Remember, the law states that you can use it for personal use, and in the near future, what they're currently working on is that this will be available in a therapy setting, right? With a therapist, someone who has the credentials to be in this setting with somebody. This article says the experience could cost anything from $1,500 to over $7,000. Costs for the psilocybin experiences aren't determined by the law, but they're expected to vary based on where you choose to have your experience. All right, so the average cost for a trip on magic mushrooms, I would say a very impactful one, like if you were to go on a heroic journey and take that dosage and have the intention to go on a trip to heal an aspect of yourself, to bring clarity to something that you're currently struggling with. The average cost of getting your hands on that, whether you grow it or you buy it off the streets, I would say would probably range from $30 to $50 to maybe $100 or a little over that if you're buying supplies to grow and cultivate your own. So keep that in mind, right? And this says that it's predicted to cost somewhere around $1,500 to $7,000. So this is going to come, of course, in a therapy setting. You'll be laying down, you'll be receiving this assistance by a trained therapist, right? But is it really necessary? That's the question, because most of us, when we are called to take magic mushrooms, when they come into our life and you choose to go on that journey, they're going to take you on the journey that you need. Although I strongly encourage everybody to always have a trip sitter, to always have somebody there that you trust and that you love, you can technically trip alone. I never ever recommend it, especially if you are new to this, but it is possible for you to sit with yourself and sit with the medicine and receive the guidance, receive the messages that you need, and for you to move forward in accordance to what you receive. It's possible, it's totally possible, but I understand that this price is it's up there because it's gonna come with all this extra shit. The fact that you can grow them at home though in these states where they're becoming legal is actually pretty amazing, because it's not that hard to grow them if you learn. All right, so according to the article, the measure narrowly passed the AP projected with 52% of the more than 2.2 million vote cast supporting legalization. And this is in Colorado specifically. This is crazy because Colorado and Oregon, especially Oregon, I will speak on Oregon because this is where I live, right? So Oregon is a prime example because Oregon is a state that is, how should I say this? Let's see, Oregon has a large population of hippies. Camping culture is huge here. People love nature, and oftentimes, and also mushroom picking, like cultivating, things like that, very naturey things. It's like a huge thing over here. A lot of people also love weed out here and other drugs. So if it took that much work to pass these laws in these states, Oregon and Colorado, which are so freer than the other states, then I can only imagine like what it's gonna take to pass it on a federal level. However, I feel like as people begin to receive the healing benefits of this medicine and begin to implement lessons into their life and feel more connected to the universe, I know it sounds like woo-woo, but if you've done mushrooms, you know what I mean. I believe that as people become more empowered, the word will spread. And what I think will happen is that people will slowly begin to be more open-minded. It's really interesting how, like, reading this book, it's like, yo, all of our ancestors were so down, you know, like they would eat mushrooms like nothing. Of course, there was like no information and such available to them. I mean, not to the extent as today with the internet, but it's interesting. So yeah, I think that people will begin to be more open-minded. Actually, as a collective, psychedelics have the power to change the world in a really drastic way. I really feel like people doubt the power that plants have to heal, and fungi, you know, because if you look at herbs, like the average person doesn't incorporate herbs into their life, I feel like, not on a conscious level. And so why would people believe that a little fungi can change your life? And like this book says, so no one yet understands the mysterious intelligence within plants or the implications of the idea that nature communicates in a basic chemical language that is unconscious but profound. We do not yet understand how hallucinogens transform the message in the unconscious into revelations beheld by the conscious mind. The action of hallucinogens present in many common plants enhanced our information processing activity or environmental sensitivity, and thus contributed to the sudden expansion of the human brain size. At a later stage in this same process, hallucinogens acted as a catalyst in the development of imagination, fueling the creation of internal stratagems and hopes that may well have synergized the emergence of language and religion. Bro, what? The people who are in control are very aware of the power of this medicine. Going back to this article, it also states, while more than 60 bills have been introduced around the country, the majority, including Hawaii bill, are stalled in committee or have failed to get a vote. In Washington, legislators open to study the substance after struggling to loosen restrictions. And in California, lawmakers transformed a bill to decriminalize use into one that would analyze policy. In Colorado, the ballot measure's victory marks the state's second time making psychedelic history in 3 years. Denver became the first U.S. city to decriminalize psilocybin in 2019. Overall, it will be a very slow process, in my opinion. Well, there you have it. That is the new law. To summarize, currently, as of 2022, Oregon and Colorado are the two states that have moved forward and legalized the use of psilocybin magic mushrooms. The initiative allows the use of psilocybin at state-regulated centers under the supervision of licensed facilitators. It also legalizes personal use, growing, and sharing, but not selling, so you cannot sell it. PTSD, anxiety, depression, addiction. Our mental health needs better solutions than getting caught up with what the pharmaceutical industry has to offer for us. It's important that as humans we shift to a more natural way of living. Nature has everything to offer to us. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think about all of this? If you're interested in hearing about other topics that I spoke about, make sure to comment below. And again, subscribe to my channel so that this information reaches more people. Thank you so much for being here.